Good afternoon, everyone. Dr. Todd from MoveNow, and I'm here with Dr. Cronk. I'm in the clinic. Dr. Cronk you're at home office.
I'm at a home office, yeah.
Sweet, okay. And why are you getting screwed up with pre-existing conditions? What's wrong with you? Come on, it's not that big of a deal. Dr. Cronk's gonna make it easy. He's gonna break it down. He made it easy for me. I was getting screwed up with it too. I thought it was a big deal, and you've made it really easy. So tell us about this. Let's talk about it.
Well, first of all, as everybody knows, or anybody that's listening, we have a seminar or webinar that we're doing on Saturday where we're going to go over into these things in deeper detail, I should say. But pre-existing conditions have been so misunderstood in the personal injury market. They're the absolute easiest thing. I mean, after you understand them, to me, it's hilarious that you would ever get like held up by them or confused by them. You just have to know. I have a law degree. I practiced for 17 years as a chiropractor. I started 2 national spinal ligament testing companies. And in between that time when I wasn't practicing, I also got a law degree, and I did my law thesis on pre-existing conditions. So I looked at the law. I looked at what the federal law was. I looked at what some state laws were. And it was amazing when you actually look at when you look at pre-existing conditions. There's 2 things that most people don't understand when it comes to pre-existing conditions. The first thing, and it's the most important thing, is what are the actual injuries? How do you differentiate the injuries? Because if you don't know what the injuries are, or what they look like, or how to find them, then of course you're going to get stumbled with, well, how do I know that wasn't there before? 2, pre-existing conditions have a few language terms that make it super simple. But, you know, just to kind of give you a little bit of a teaser, if you've got degenerative disc disease at C5 and C6 and C6 and C7, and the person was in an auto accident, and you're like, oh my God, they have a pre-existing condition. What am I going to do? Right? Well, first of all, when you know what the injuries do, you know the injury is going to dissipate. It's not going to generally be as significant in those levels because those levels are already really stiff. So you got to know what to look for. And just because somebody, like if I had a leg injury, Todd, and 20 years ago, I had ankle surgery, and I have degenerated ankles. I have a degenerated left ankle because of my ankle surgery, and now I'm in an auto accident. A car hits me on my bike, and it tore up my knee. Because I had a pre-existing leg condition, do you think that would play into play with a knee injury? The answer is most definitely no. Right. So the problem that a lot of doctors have is that they think that the spine is all one unit. This is the neck. The neck is like as big as Texas. It's a lot of real estate. You know, the lower back is as big as Florida. It's a lot of real estate. So just like the leg has a lot of different parts to it. The neck has a lot of different parts to it. So, you know, the biggest place where you get screwed up is not knowing where the injuries are themselves, but then not understanding that oftentimes the big pre-existing condition that you're worried about, which is degenerative disc disease at a particular level. You know, if I have a ligament injury at C2, C3, and there's no degenerative disc condition, there is no pre-existing condition. But even if there is a pre-existing condition, there's 4 simple terms you got to understand. Once you understand those 4 simple terms, it's like super easy. For those of you that can hear my dog in the background, I apologize. He's an invertebrate, and we haven't adjusted his atlas enough to get him to not stop.
And so, what are those 4 terms, real quick? I'll type them in the comments section so we can get people excited about what we're going to talk about on Saturday.
You got to know what an exacerbation is. You got to know what an aggravation is. You got to know what a you have to know what a dormant and an active pre-existing condition is. You got to know those 4 things. Once you know those 4 things, pre-existing conditions will never, ever give you or anybody that you want to explain it to a problem again. So,
and you know, it's funny. I just went through that whole lesson that you have inside of SmartInjuryDoctors a couple days ago on pre-existing conditions. So I went through that. There's two main video lessons that you go through talking about that.
Yeah.
And it pretty much clears it up. It makes it really clear as far as how to understand it.
Yeah, and it just, you know, the key thing where that's going to really play out for the doctors that really understand it is when you're trying to get a law firm. The law firm is is trying to decide, hey, do I want to start referring to you? How would you do in depositions? You know, they always have the question, hey, will you go to trial? You know, how would you do? And they're sizing you up. So the biggest question they're going to hit you with is, hey, how do you know this wasn't there before? How do you know this isn't a pre-existing condition?
Right.
Right? Because they're very confused about pre-existing conditions. So if you are so certain with, wow, pre-existing conditions are not an issue. They're not an issue at all. I mean, if I have a pre-existing wrist injury and I got a big old wide gash on my forearm, just because I have a pre-existing arm condition doesn't mean that that portion of the arm that's injured ever had a pre-existing condition.
Yes. Yes, so, and I think using those kind of analogies with attorneys is helpful. And I think for these things that if and when you have to go to a deposition or go to court, and then you can go back and you can show excessive motion, you can coordinate it with what you found clinically. Yeah, if someone has DJD at C5, C6, and then they have a spinal instability at C2, I mean, those are two totally different things. And especially if prior to the crash, they weren't actively being treated for some sort of complaint at C2, it wasn't diagnosed at C2. And so even scenarios with someone that has a history of neck pain, which is like, okay, so what does that mean? Is it lower neck, mid neck, upper neck? What is it? And now the person gets in a car wreck and now they have an upper cervical instability. Two totally different things.
Two totally different things.
Yeah.
But you know, it's when you yourself know that with certainty, and you know you own it. You own it just like, you know, anything you know with great certainty is fun. It's fun to explain. You're relaxed. You're not feeling pressured, no matter how much somebody's trying to pressure you. You're very relaxed. You can explain it. That comes across, and that certainty and that confidence, kind of like what we talked about on the last Facebook Live, is very attractive. You know, it's attractive. You know, people are attracted to competence. They're attracted to confidence. They're attracted to people who can easily explain things. They're attracted to that. So it's pre-existing conditions should never be an issue. Once I understood pre-existing conditions, if there was pre-existing conditions, they were on page 1 out on the marquee in broad light so that everybody could see them, right? Instead of, oh my gosh, let's bury that. Let's don't talk about that. We don't want somebody to know about that.
It's called running towards danger.
Yeah, just the opposite. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Exactly.
Cool, awesome. So this Saturday, we're talking about 5 ways to blow attorney relationships. And really, we decided to have some kind of negative thing in there because people resonate with that for whatever reason. But we're going to flip it around and show, here's the 5 things that you really need to focus on doing right. So that once you build, or I should say, once you capture the attention of an attorney and they then come in, you know, you meet them in person, you go to lunch, you have them in your clinic for a tour. I just gave you a tour of our clinic for the first time.
Beautiful.
So that's the kind of tour we give to an attorney. They're blown away by it, but then they're asking questions. How do you not blow it at that point, be able to answer the questions confidently? That's what we're going to talk about. And we're also going to touch on how do you even get the attorneys interested to begin with? How do you build the relationships? I was going to show you something. I just got this text from one of our doctors that's using the attorney interactive videos, which we'll touch on briefly this Saturday. He texted me today at 10:25 a.m. Just had a call from an attorney that loved the videos. Right. So he just sent me that randomly, and it's like, yeah, of course I loved it.
Awesome. I'll tell you what, those videos are like a first impression.
Yeah.
And they're a beautiful first impression. They're absolutely a gorgeous first impression, because what they do is they start the chain of confidence and competence that now is going to follow behind that. So now when they approach and they're starting to look at it, it's not a facade. It's not a false thing. It's a thing that you understand. It's a thing that now you can explain and handle all of their uncertainties and their confusions that they've had, because they basically are very confused. They don't know the injuries that they represent oftentimes, and they don't understand them.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Awesome. Well, I put a link in the comments section.
Yep.
And so everyone watching this, if you are a member of Smart Injury Doctors, jump on it. You get great information from it. You don't want to miss it. If you're not a member of Smart Injury Doctors, jump on it as well. If you've never seen me or Dr. Cronk and you're seeing this for the first time, still jump on it. I mean, it's going to be great quality information that we're going to cover. And then we're also going to show you, we're not going to leave you hanging. We're going to show you, okay, so here's how stuff that we used from Smart Injury Doctors that we learned, how we were able to then present this in front of attorneys in this video format thing. So like this, basically I'm mentioning that just so if you're watching this right now and you're thinking, man, there's all these different things going on, we're going to break it down very simply of how it's just a couple of steps and gets you rolling, whether you are deep in personal injury, you've done it for years, or you're brand new to it. There's lots of great assets that Dr. Cronk built in Smart Injury Doctors. And then all I did was just, I became a student of what you teach, and we figured out a way of using some technology to get in front of people.
And Todd, these are things that are going to be like in the next decade, the next 10 years, they're the things that are going to be what are required in the market anyway. So if you're in the market now, you're heavy in the market, you want to keep your market share, you're trying to get more market share, you're just trying to get in the market, get with us on Saturday.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks for joining me. Thanks everyone else. Look forward to seeing you. Over and out.